does, it's a problem.
Oh yeah.
Usually. Hey, Jim.
Hi.
Jim McCue. Normally we just sit here and bullshit about whatever, but with you in particular, you're the comedy festival in Boston, which is your baby.
Yep.
And have you sat in a podcast or anything like that and really talked about the festival and the history of it? And
not too much. I don't really wear it on my sleeve. Like, I'm sharing the comedy condo with Nathan, very funny comedian, and like yesterday he's walking around talking to his friends, and he comes at one point he comes back and goes, "Do you have something to do with the Boston Comedy Festival?" I was like, yeah, I got something to do with it.
That's right. Well, and really, it's like you and your sister.
That's it.
Y'all do it.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I'll be asking your advice soon, because I want to reorganize this thing, get a group of people together on this, because it's getting hard slugging this thing up the hill every year, man.
Sure, absolutely. Get a little, because you've never really had a big team of people.
Right,
I mean,
right.
I guess at times maybe you've had
we had interns. We always worked with interns or other comedians that are like want to volunteer. But the comedians typically, they want to help, but they really want you to put them on stage.
Sure, absolutely. They want to get one of those 70 slots.
Or whatever. We had an intern who went to Berkeley, and he was a comedy major, which is hilarious. But we're like, stay at this door. I got this girl, Lisa, who's been used to manage clubs in Boston. She's a good friend of mine. And we have all these people at the Armory. And it might have been, I forget what the show was, but it was we had some name acts on it. It was the long line of people. I go, your job is to stand here. So they have to turn into Lisa to pay her ticket, and they walk in between you. You do not give up this spot. You stand here. Your feet are planted. I come back like 20 minutes later. He's on the stage getting his picture taken with Bobcat Goldthwait. So I'm like, I'm going to strangle this kid.
You can't do it. You can't have comics in those kind of situations. Right. They're undisciplined.
Totally.
They won't do it. You got to get the nerd kid that don't give a shit.
Right.
About Bobcat Goldthwait.
Right.
So this year is the 25th anniversary, right?
Yes, 25 years.
Yeah. So what year? I'm in my mind. What year was that going back? 2000.
2000, right?
2000.
Yeah.
Right. So you've done it every year except for, I guess, pandemic break year.
We actually did that with Barbara Holiday. We did a virtual thing.
Oh, okay.
Just to keep it going. And she started she's going to be at our festival this year too. She's great, Barbara Holiday, and she owns Flappers in Burbank.
Okay.
And she does the Burbank Comedy Festival.
Gotcha.
But she's a great comedy person, and we called her and we're like, what do you want to do? And she said, let's do it together. And she had a lot of great assets because we did it virtually. She had a lot of agents they were all sitting at home. We got a lot more views than I ever thought. I thought we were gonna have like 12 people,
right?
Which is not an unrealistic,
in that situation
number.
Yes,
but we got a lot because the agents were they had nothing else to do, and she emailed them all because they all live out there,
right?
And they were like, "I'll watch and see if there's something."
Sure.
Yeah,
that's cool. Well, I know, when I went out for the first time, that was, you said maybe the third year or something like that. So
yeah,
maybe somewhere in there. I remember that year going up there as a judge. That the night I got there, there was a show at the Majestic, which is a great, beautiful venue there in Boston.
Emerson Majestic Theater.
Yeah, the Emerson College, right?
Yep, the theater district.
Yes, and it was for Emerson because if I remember, Dennis Leary and a few other comics kind of started a comedy, not curriculum, but side thing
Eddie
out of
Brill
the theater department.
Yeah, we were all talking to them about that because they had so many famous people that came out of there, starting with Jay Leno, but a lot of people went to Emerson, and why don't you make this? You're teaching acting. You got so many successful people, Bill Burr and
sure. Well, I know that night.
Yeah.
It was let's see, it was Dennis, Stephen Wright, Bill Dana, who was you got to be our age to remember Jose Jimenez.
Oh yeah, he got the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Norm Crosby, who you got to remember,
was hilarious,
fantastic. He's our dad. They were our dad's age.
Oh yeah.
And Bill Burr was just coming out.
Right.
You know,
and, Nick DiPaolo, right?
Yeah. And I remember the thing that was wild to me with Bill Dana was that I found out was that here's Bill Dana played Jose Jimenez, a bellhop in a Palm Springs hotel comedy sitcom, right? Mm-hmm. And I thought, if anybody had asked me, I go, the first couple of Latin actors, that broke through would have been Ricky Ricardo,
right,
and Bill Dana,
right.
He's Jewish.
Right.
Yes, he's not Latin.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Or maybe he's half Latin, but I found out he's Jewish. You know?
Wow. Okay.
And I went, I'll be damned. But
I tell you, in the old days, not all those Indians were.
No. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
We're indigenous to this country.
Absolutely. But and that was when we were talking earlier where I was getting ready to judge the finals and three women walk into the theater and they think they recognize me and I'm not who they think they are.
Right.
But the lady comes back to find out who I really am.
Right. And
we get talking and I told her about the show with Dennis Leary and Stephen Wright and she said, "What do you think about Stephen Wright?" And I said he was hilarious. First time I ever saw him live. She goes, "I'm his mother." She goes, "But to tell you the truth, I don't get him. I don't get them. People start laughing, and by the time I know what,
it's the only person,
what they're laughing
as a comedian,
at.
It's the only person you want to get you is your mom.
I know.
You want approval.
He's like, I don't know. It's just too eclectic for me or whatever. She mentioned three other Boston comics that she just loved. What I mean? Whatever. Yeah. That was hilarious.
Yeah, you were saying Meanie, right?
Yeah, Kevin.
What's wrong with you?
Hilarious, Kevin.
Put your big pants on.
That's right. But one of the things that when you started it, it was really more a competition than that was really the foundation of the event.
Right,
was the competition, right? But you had, you had 90. Like you took submissions.
Yeah, we used to do 96. And
how many submissions would you take?
We get hundreds, and they were on VHS. That's how long ago it was. We had boxes of VHS tapes, and we'd watch them, plug them in, and I remember at I don't know if it was even a whiteboard. I think it was a whiteboard though. We, would give a point system, the same points that the judges have to follow. We would apply to the comedians, right. So it gave us a guide of who we thought
was just the two of y'all, or were there?
No, that's before. When I started the festival, my sister Helen is like 15 or 16 years younger than me.
Oh, okay.
So she was in college. She made our first T-shirt.
Oh, okay.
She was a graphic design major, and has thrown her life away. And she's a director of the festival now. We just did a Boston Globe article, and I said you should really talk to Helen.
Yeah,
because nothing. And all my old dinosaur friends, I love you. But they walk right by her and ask me for stuff, and I'm like, she's running. Oh, she's running it.
It's the same way.
I want to get a T-shirt that says, "Where's Helen?"
I know.
Because I'm like, It's
the same way with Pam here.
Right.
Everybody thinks I'm it. And I go, without Pam, without Helen, there is no festival. There is no comedy club. If it's just me and you, this shit don't go down. They're like the nuts and bolts people.
Oh, man.
Absolutely, But it's like when you first started doing it, the competitors were strong middles and headliners. And usually your winner. Now I remember the first one was Dan Bolger, who wasn't really a headliner yet.
Right.
But him and Shane Moss, I think, came in first.
And Shane went on to Aspen and won that within a couple of months.
Wow! And it's like those guys had the perfect 15, 20 minutes for a contest. Right. They had developed that,
To give you an idea how young Dan Bolger was when he won, he couldn't get into the bar where we were all celebrating. He was too young.
Well, I'll tell you what, I hired both of them to come here for New Year's Eve and the week after, and I knew they only had like a strong 15 minutes. So I said, y'all are going to co-middle.
Okay.
You're going to co-middle, right?
Yeah.
And so when their first night was for New Year's Eve, and when they got to the door, my doorman stopped them and said, you
can't come in.
Yeah, like, you guys ain't old enough to be in here. And my manager they never, and they were like, hey, we're the acts, and they were like, oh yeah, really? I mean, like, they gave them a hard time, because they were so young looking.
Me and Danny did a local TV thing after he won at the after festivals, after story or whatever, and he's sitting right here, now that you've won the Boston Comedy Festival, what are you gonna do? He goes, well, I quit college. I go, what? And that they have that on camera. What? No, don't quit college. If you go to college here in Boston, you can go at night. What is wrong with you? Don't put that on me.
Right. Well, when
he's still great. I mean, he gets better every year. He's an incredible comedian. But
he that was their first gig outside of Boston coming here.
Oh, that's so cool.
And they were both I just remember them both being so thrilled. I mean, the idea that they were in South Florida,
living the dream,
winter, with a condo. They were beside themselves.
That's so that to me, like, awesome. Even when, I go to other when I did the Nebraska festival, the Johnny Carson one. Mm-hmm. Bert Haas back in the day he booked Zanies.
Right.
I mean, like a big
absolutely
club for years. I was in there. I do I got 2 clubs every year. I'm like that if you get 2 clubs every year over the course of years, that you won that festival.
Absolutely.
If you get and we have different kinds of industry. If you're get into cruises, if that's your thing, or we got college guy Eric Lampert coming this year.
Sure.
You can make a good. There's a lot of ways to find a way to
Eric's a great guy.
Yeah.
I can remember a guy had a club in Miami. For some reason, it was always hard to get a club to work in Miami.
Right.
Just the crowds there. New Orleans was always that way.
Yep.
Because they're just not there for
there's
that.
more to do.
Yes. They're not there to sit and be quiet and watch a show.
No.
And but this was actually a pretty good room. It lasted a couple years. And Eric was the house MC back then. And I remember the first time I played it as a headliner, I had a great week, had a great time. But every night, Eric would go up and would go, how many people here English is your second language? And it was always almost half the crowd. And then he would do a bit that he spoke Spanish pretty well. And he would do a bit, And I would always comment, I go, man, I got to hand it to this crowd. I go, you're getting me. I mean, I got a pretty strong Southern accent, Southern guy, and all my material's working like a charm with you guys. I go, that's it. That's really impressive.
Yeah.
But Eric was one of those guys that just, man, what a great entrepreneur to take.
Yeah, he really is, and he's this year he's like talking like, I want to help. You've been doing this for 25 years. I want to start helping you.
Because for anybody who's watching, before, if you wanted to get in college, it was NACA, right? And that was, it's hard to get into NACA. It's just hard to even get a spot in NACA, to audition for it. So he realized that there was a lot of good talent out there that wasn't even getting their foot in the door in NACA. So he started that same kind of thing for colleges on his own. And obviously there was a ton of talent out there that wasn't getting through that way. And I don't know. It's like I've done cocaine. It's like the old days. And I was just wondering where this happened. So at first, the competition was mostly headliners, and I've noticed this about a lot of the big competitions, the San Francisco and and it just got to the place at some point where it just wasn't beneficial for a headliner to do competitions, and now it seems like almost all the competitions are more strong middles, and opening acts, that are looking to break through. And
also I found out over the years, I mean, they had some most incredible acts and still do in Boston, that headline, but it's a different thing to do 40-50 minutes every night, and then suddenly you got to retool your act to 6 minutes,
right?
And not everybody makes that they just go, I'll just, I'm at Nick's. I'll do it. I'm fine. Bring me up. And then they got that clock. Whoa. Because, and back, when I first started, all these great Boston acts, a lot of them could do it, but some of them, they didn't go down to New York. They're making a ton of money in Boston.
Right.
The New York acts could come up because that's all they got was 6 minutes. So they got pretty good at 6 minutes.
Right.
I mean, you wouldn't want to follow one of these guys from Boston after 40. I mean, good night, nurse. But,
absolutely.
But it's just different. It's the difference of somebody's a sprinter or somebody's a marathon. It's different muscles.
Well, I always told comics, I said, it's a great exercise doing a competition because you really have to go through your act and decide. I go, think about it this way. If you get on a late night talk show,
right.
What are you getting? 5, 3, 5, something like that. You get on America's Got Talent, you're getting 2. Maybe minute and a half, 2.
Every word counts.
Exactly right. I think America's Got Talent. I think maybe Josh Blue told me, you go all the way to the finals and you don't expose 10 minutes of material. You know what I mean? Like you can win that motherfucker and with less than 15 minutes of material, but it's got to be the right kind of material for that venue, for that particular thing, and it's such a. I tell acts, I go, I don't know if I want to do a competition. I go, it's just a really great way to go through your act. Really have to nitpick and pull it down to what you think is your best, and it's not just that. You're going, I've got to get in, then I got to go get past the quarterfinals, but then when I get to the semis, do I want to expose my best material in the quarterfinals? I don't want to do the same shit, and so you really got to make those decisions all the way through. I just think it's a great exercise. Yes, absolutely.
We do mix up the judges so they get different judges, but and when they get in the big room at the end, there's a lot of times the first time a lot of these acts are in a theater where it's 900 seats.
Oh yeah.
Because you can see, because we try to get them there early, and that's one of my most fun parts of running the festival, is the looks on their faces when they go like this. They see the balcony, and all the lights, and they're like, "Wow!"
I remember the first time I did a theater like that. What hit me was how dark it was, how absolutely black you see that first couple of rows, and the next, and there's 800, 1,000, people in there, but you can't see any of them. Yeah, you just got to feel them a little bit.
And your timing changes a little bit. Like, I did a string of theaters open up for Lewis Black, and it was some of them. I said, Lewis, I would do this gig for the sandwiches on the bus. But it also, you learn a little bit. Like, this is like for perfect club for comedy that we're sitting in right now. Right. But when you do theaters, you have to let that laugh go out and come back a little bit.
That's right.
Because it's got to get to those people in the cheap seats.
Exactly.
And so it does affect you. But I mean, Lewis Black is a bad example because his audiences are so great, and they just assume if you're on in front of them, you must be decent.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
So you get that free, you go out in a lot of comedy clubs, they cross their arms and they see you walking up them steps on a little,
If you're opening for
let's
somebody.
See let's see if this guy doesn't look funny.
But but and I'm always, what I always say is I'm always amazed when somebody's working out a special that they don't exclusively use comedy club size venues to work it out. Right. Because of that, because in the big theater, like you said, the timing it's a longer span because you got to wait for everything to hit. Where in a club, it's immediate.
Yeah.
But you figure when somebody's watching you on television or a laptop or whatever, but somebody's watching you on a screen, it's immediate.
That's right.
It's immediate.
That makes sense. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it seems like you wouldn't want to work out in a theater.
Yeah. What little I know about putting out my stuff on social media is like the thing I get the most strikes on is 15 seconds or less.
Mm-hmm.
It's this guy says this, I say that, bing, boom. And I might have tags. I might call back to something. Forget all that. You want to like, you know, you want to bunt and run if you have to.
That's right.
You want to be moving.
That's exactly right.
Keep your feet moving.
Keep it moving. Keep it moving, baby.
Because there's like a fat guy in a hula hoop somewhere, and he's gonna get 18 million views.
You know, it's the weirdest thing that we had happen that we discovered here is that you know, you're of course we're putting shit out there to promote the theater,
sure,
right? It's just all for promotion. So Jason, our media manager, he takes a clip from one of our local guys that works for us, Johnny Hobbs, where it's just a joke. It's a joke. And he literally in the joke said, for those of you who might remember a comic named Buddy Hackett, who was from the generation before me,
right?
This was one of his favorite jokes. So he sets it up that way,
right.
And then he tells it, and it's just an old joke.
Right.
That joke, Jason goes, that thing got 1 million views so fast, right?
Yeah.
And I go, and he goes, we're struggling to put up this really interesting, original shit that's barely getting thousands, you know what I mean? And you tell an old joke. So I went, okay. I said, I told all of our guys at Host, and I said, try to throw an old joke in your set every time you're filming. And I said, Jason, when they get a good response, pull them. And we found that almost every time we throw an old joke out there, it gets that really strong response. And I just think, there's something about jokes,
right,
that the structure of them just captures people.
That's
they know it's going to be quick.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Right.
They know they're going to get the payoff.
They're going to get the payoff.
And they know it's just a joke. There's not going to be any...
I'm just sitting here thinking, for me to get 1 million views, I would have to, like, fall out of a bass boat while relieving myself or something.
Oh, I know. That's the crazy
thing. Like a seagull would have to fly in my eye.
That's right.
My pants would fall down, and I flip out, and then... That's where Jim McCue's career took off.
I know. It's like it makes no logical fucking sense. But you know that goes back to the fact that old jokes still work. Dick jokes still work. You know, I remember me and a few comics back, because we all started in the 80s when the boom started, right? When comedy clubs just started opening, and comedy clubs were packed. Everybody paid the cover charge in the 80s up to maybe early 90s. And then, everybody been there, done that, and it started being like anything else. But us sitting around talking, going, you know something? In the next 10 years, the comics that are going to be left are going to be the ones who learn to write original material, really good stuff, because all the dick jokes, all the bullshit jokes will have been there, done that over and over and over. How wrong was I?
Right.
Dick jokes, stupid, those stupid.
Well, they're new to them. They're new to them.
That's what it is. That stuff will work 1,000 years from now. We used to say holes and poles. Anything going in or out a hole in your body is hilarious.
It's money in the bank.
It's hilarious. I remember Ron Bennington, who's great. If you don't know Ron, fantastic comedian and very popular up in the New York area and on radio and everything. But he had a morning show here that became the morning show for a long time. And he was a comic before that, just trying to make it like everybody. And all of a sudden he gets this morning show and it just explodes, right? And and it becomes his thing. And I remember after it had been on for 4 or 5 years, and they're making shitloads of money and doing great. He goes, Les, you go all this, career, really trying to set yourself apart and, with what you write and be original. And then I get this morning radio show. Dick, pussy, tits, farts, all that old shit, that old baseline fucking
you can laugh at while drinking your coffee and driving.
What? That's just
on the way to work, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
What is it?
That goes to what you were saying earlier about people aren't here to learn anything.
Right. They're not. They just want to laugh.
I love that quote.
It's like they aren't. I go, they don't come to a comedy club to learn anything or to be enlightened.
Right.
If you happen to do that along the way, well, bonus. But that ain't why they're here. They want to do is laugh. They don't want your story. They don't want fuck that.
Right.
They just want a little vacation.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's what we should be doing. That, like I say, it's amazing that the stuff that's always worked. The oldest, I think, if I remember from my theater, the oldest Greek comedies were written by a guy named Aristophanes. And there's I think there's 5 Aristophanes plays or partial plays that are in existence. Lysistrata, which I actually did, is sex. I think The Birds is political. Each one takes a different aspect of comedy. But when you read those plays, they were laughing at the same shit that we laugh at now. Relationship humor, sexual humor, political satire. It's the same. We have not evolved as much as we like to think we are.
I'll butcher this, but I think I saw Chris Rock talking somewhere in the stratosphere. But a thing that stuck with me, he said, you can have different styles. You could be a storyteller. He goes, but you do need a joke. You do need to have a payoff.
Yes.
That's what everybody's here for.
Well, it's like when I teach comedy, I tell them, I go, anybody, we can all sit here, amateurs, and come up with a lot of funny premises.
Right.
But punches are fucking hard. Premises, and you see it too, the young comics especially, they think the premise
is the punchline.
Yeah. You're like, no.
Those are just sentences.
That's right. I said, well, how's my set? I go, well, you got a lot of funny ideas, but you ain't got a punch for any of them yet.
Right.
Because it's like I said, I go, if you could write one great punch a week,
I know. I think that all the time.
One great punch a week, that's 52 a year.
That's right.
You go, I tell these new guys, I go, if you could do that, I go, that means at the end of the year, you would have at least 25 minutes, at least, of good, solid comedy. I go, you know how long it takes most people to put 25 minutes together? Like 3-4 years most of the time. At least that, I said, if you could write a great punch a week, you could almost work for the Tonight Show. I mean, really, if you're that fucking good, really great.
Right.
It's hard. Premises are easy.
Have fun.